I never imagined being forced to marry would lead to a heartwarming love story of true connection. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My chest was tight, dread curling around my heart like a vice. I was standing in that dimly lit hall, the weight of my father's words hanging heavy in the air. You will marry him. It felt like the ground shook beneath me, the certainty of my world fracturing into pieces. The wedding was next week. Just a week. My palms were clammy, fingers trembling as I gripped my dress. It was a beautiful gown, white and flowing, but it felt more like shackles than a symbol of love. How had I let it come to this? This wasn't the fairy tale I dreamed of as a little girl. This was a nightmare wrapped in silk. My heart raced every time I thought of him, Callum, a stranger with deep-set eyes and a reputation that preceded him. I could still hear the whispers, feel the judgment on my skin. He's dangerous, they said. He's not someone you want to cross. I looked around the room at the friends and family gathered, faces blurred together in a haze of concern and excitement for a union that left me feeling hollow. My mother was there, her eyes sparkling with joy, oblivious to the turmoil storming inside me. I'll be fine, she said, with a soft pat on my back. But her words grazed the surface of my fear, never reaching the depths of my despair. And there was Emily, my lifelong friend, standing a few feet away. I caught her eye, and her expression was filled with anguish. She opened her mouth to say something, but then let out a shaky breath instead. I could tell she wanted to scream for me to run, to break free from this imposed life. Yet all I could do was force a smile. But there was more. As I spent sleepless nights dreaming of escape, strange occurrences began to shadow my fate. The old family heirloom ring that my father insisted I wore felt like ice against my skin, its gemstone glistening ominously under the light. Objects moved ever so slightly when I wasn't looking, whispers trailing through the hallways when the house was still. It was like the universe was trying to tell me something, but what? Each night, doubts slithered through my mind like shadows creeping closer. What if Callum wasn't the monster I'd been told? What if beneath that hardened exterior, there was a soul yearning for connection, just like mine? Was it possible that fate had something in store for us beyond the confines of forced marriage? Just as the weight of the unknown began to pull me down, I received an unexpected message on my phone, a time and location, a whisper of a meeting. The sender was unknown. My hands trembled again, confusion swirling inside me. Should I trust it? Should I even consider it? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The afternoon light filtered softly through the window, casting long shadows across my room. Each beam felt like a searchlight searching for solace in the murky waters of my emotions. At that moment, staring at the cracked screen of my phone, time stretched and warped, as if the very act of contemplating whether to respond could alter my destiny, that I hovered my finger over the message that buzzed like a trapped bee, wanting to be freed. Meet me tonight at the old oak tree by the river, it read. There was no name attached, no reassurance of safety, only a promise of something unknown that drew me in with magnetic force. My heart raced, thundering like a distant storm. What was I risking by answering? More importantly, what was I forcing myself to endure should I choose silence? The image of Callum filled my thoughts, his icy demeanor, the shadows lurking behind his gaze, but also that fleeting moment when his expression softened amidst the chaos. Could there be more beneath the surface? I clenched my fists, torn between the life I was expected to lead and the life I yearned for, but had yet to embrace. With no clear answers, I decided to seek solace in the one place that had always felt like Hamemi's secret refuge, in the backyard where the old oak tree stood tall and proud. As I stepped outside, the gentle breeze kissed my cheeks, whispering encouragement, a promising reminder that the world was still alive around me. Even as my heart felt muted, that I spent the next few hours lost in thought, pacing beneath the boughs of the oak until the sun dipped below the horizon. Just as twilight set in, I caught sight of a figure at the edge of the riverbank, obscured in the shadows. It took all my courage to approach. "Hello." My voice wavered, barely above a whisper. The figure turned toward me, and despite the lack of light, my heart jolted with recognition. It was Emily. Relief flooded through me as I rushed to her side, but the urgency in her eyes quickly quelled my comfort. "I didn't think you'd come," she breathed, glancing around as if she expected some unseen danger. Her worry washed over me, pulling me into a blanket of shared fear. "I almost didn't," I replied, an edge to my voice. But I needed to know what this was all about. Emily took a deep breath, holding my gaze with a fierceness that felt electric. "There's something you need to know about Callum. It's important." The words hung between us, heavy with implications. "What do you mean?" "His past is darker than you think." "There are rumors," she said, casting nervous glances into the distance, "that he's not just dangerous, but involved in something much worse, the kind of things that put people in harm's way." "What could be worse than marrying him?" I retorted bitterly, my heart pounding wildly at the thought. "People are saying that he's mixed up with the gang criminals who will stop at nothing to get what they want, regardless of the cost," she implored, taking another step closer, her voice low. "I thought you should know before it's too late." My heart dropped even lower than before, feeling as if it had twisted and sunk into the ground like lead. Emily's concern was genuine, but in the depths of my gut, a flicker of something else sparked. Doubt? Hope. I remembered the first time I'd seen Callum, how an inexplicable connection had sparked in the air around us, a tension that felt both foreign and familiar. Was it possible he was caught in circumstances beyond his control? Before I could voice my conflicting thoughts, the sounds of footsteps disrupted our cocoon of silence. My heart raced again, not with fear, but with a glimmer of anticipation. The footsteps became clearer, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Callum. "Why are you here?" he demanded, his calm voice a stark contrast to the chaos that churned inside me. I wanted to run, but instead I stood still, caught in the web of impending decisions. "I guess that question goes both ways," I said, a hint of defiance creeping into my tone. My heart battled between the fear of what he might do and the undeniable pull I felt towards him. Emily's eyes darted between me and Callum, a silent plea urging me to remember her words. And then I felt the icy dance of something deeply buried within me, crying out. There was a storm brewing of force that made me question everything as the night wrapped around us like an omen. Just as Callum took a step forward, his expression unreadable, a gust of wind howled past, sending ripples across the river's surface and igniting the tension that simmered between us. In that moment, I realized that one answer would either shatter the night or illuminate the path forward. And then came the revelation. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you." I breathed out, feeling the weight of secrets unfurling, knowing that my words could very well shape the tangled fate that lay ahead. And just like that, the threads of our lives grew tighter, entwining in a way I had never imagined. As I stood there beneath the ancient oak, the air thick with unsaid words and fierce emotions, I felt as though time itself had paused to listen. Callum's eyes were dark pools, reflecting the uncertainty and tension that hung in the air like heavy fog. The moment was a delicate balance, a fragile line drawn between choices I could either embrace or run from. "What is it?" Callum asked, his voice low, almost swallowed by the whispering wind. There was a flicker of something in his gaze, vulnerability, perhaps. It urged me to speak, to unveil the truth I had clutched tightly. But just as I opened my mouth, the chaos of my thoughts and fears flooded back, drowning my courage before it could even break free. Could I trust him? My resistance waged war against the undeniable desire to understand him, to plunge deeper into the mystery he embodied. Emily's presence felt like a tether, grounding me amidst the swirling cacophony of doubt. "Maybe we should talk somewhere safer," she suggested, her eyes darting once again toward the shadows. I could tell she was wary, perhaps sensing danger where I felt only a storm of emotion. "If you're worried, Emily, I can stay with you," I offered, feeling suddenly brave at the thought of a shared anchor. But just as I said the words, something dark flickered in the depths of Callum's expression and emotion tinged with regret that tugged at the corners of my heart. And "oh, please," he interjected, his voice firm but low. "This is important. I need you to hear my side of things, to know the truth." That I hesitated, caught in a whirlpool of momentary doubt. What truth was he hiding? What darkness was he trying to shield from my view? Yet amid my fear, something else was stirring within me, a tendril of curiosity and empathy which had sprouted since we first crossed paths. "Fine," I said, my voice steady but my heart pounding as if it were trying to escape my chest. "But if this goes south, I won't hesitate to know," he cut in sharply, the vulnerability giving way momentarily to a flicker of protectiveness. "I wouldn't blame you. Just hear me out." We made our way to a spot along the riverbank where the water flowed gently, a stark contrast to the tumult raging within. The moonlight cast silvered shadows that danced over our faces, illuminating the worry etched on Emily's brow as I faced Callum. The evening had morphed from a frightening rendezvous into something altogether unexpected, a shared moment wrapped in secrecy and uncertainty. Callum took a deep breath, and in that instant, I could see the inner tumult that had been bursting at the seams. "I didn't choose this life, it chose me. There are things I've done, things I've been involved with that I can't undo. But I'm not the person they say I am." The words tumbled from him like stones cast into the dark water, rippling outward but never revealing their depths. I was raised in a place where survival hinged on choices I wished I'd never had to make. The gang, yes. I've been associated with them. But I'm trying to get out. I need to be out, and I need your help to do. I teed at him, wide breath caught in my throat. I searched his eyes for signs of manipulation, for an indication that this was another lie. But instead, I found something raw and akin to need for redemption that resonated true within me. I felt an unexpected swell of compassion. Somehow flawed and distant, he seemed just as human as I was. Emily stepped forward, her voice trembling. "But it's dangerous, Callum. People like this don't just let you walk away. What if they come after you? What if they come after her?" He turned to Emily, a steely determination hardening his features. "I can handle myself, but I won't put her in danger. She deserves better than that." With each word, the air between us seemed to tremble, caught in the balance of my emerging feelings and the perilous reality that surrounded Callum's life. The notion that he might truly want to shield me from the consequences of his past sent a ripple of warmth through me, a flicker of hope amid the looming uncertainty. It was quickly quashed by a lingering fear of what lay ahead. But before I could formulate a response, the shadows flickered once more, and a sudden noise shattered our fragile moment. From the darkness emerged two figures, menacing silhouettes creeping towards us with purpose, and my heart dropped into the pit of my stomach. "Callum," one of them shouted, their voice a rough growl dripping with malice. "Thought you could run." The world around us shifted in an instant, the bonds we had started to forge threatened by the encroaching threat. Fear surged through me, primal and instinctive, as I instinctively reached for Callum's arm, searching for an anchor within the tidal wave of chaos that was about to unfold. "Run," Callum shouted, his voice a harsh whisper of urgency, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. I looked to Emily in panic, our connection eclipsed by the specter of danger that loomed closer. I in that heartbeat. With danger surfacing from the depths of night, our fates intertwined further, pulling us all into an uncertain storm. The threads of our lives twisted tighter and tighter, possibilities and fears mingling as the first step into chaos was pulsing ever closer. And in that instant, with shadows advancing and uncertainty smothering our fragile connection, I realized that this was only the beginning of a story I could never have anticipated. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth, the weight of impending chaos heavy on my shoulders as I felt Callum grip my arm. We were frozen, suspended in that brief moment before tumult could unleash its fury. The two figures advanced, their postures taut with violence, and it sent a chill deep into my bones. I scanned the shadows frantically for a means of escape, my mind racing as adrenaline pumped through my veins. Callum's presence felt like a storm cloud, promising both shelter and ruin. My heart hammered against my ribs. Was I anchoring him or merely holding onto the edge of a precipice? Trust me, Callum urged, determination igniting his features. It was a command wrapped in desperation, and despite the terror thrumming through me, I felt that strange spark of understanding that had lingered since I first met him. Over there, Emily pointed toward a thicket of trees, a faint glimmer of moonlight illuminating a path that could lead us away from the looming danger. Go! Callum yelled, shoving me gently towards the thicket. I hesitated, torn between instinct and the impulse to stay by his side. But the urgency in his voice sliced through the fog of indecision. I stumbled forward, fear propelling me, while Emily surged ahead. Just as I reached the edge of the trees, I turned back, the shadows stretching and intertwining like grasping hands. Callum wasn't far behind, weaving through the darkness with an agility that belied the tension coiling in his body. My heart sank when I saw one of the figures nearing him, menacing and silent. Callum! I screamed, the word bursting from my lips like a spell gone wrong. But he ducked low, his silhouette a fleeting shadow beneath the moonlight. In a flurry of movement, the sharp crack of branches echoed, a jarring sound that turned my stomach. I strained to see through the darkness, understanding that he was defending himself, that the very world he was trying to escape was barreling toward him with an insatiable hunger. Run, he shouted again, this time more forcefully, and I felt a crackling tension rise within me, a confusion fueled by the fear of the unknown mingling with a burgeoning sense of responsibility. Somehow, I couldn't abandon him. With a last look back, I made my decision amidst the cacophony of chaos. I was no longer just a bystander. I was part of this storm, and I would plunge into it fully, fight for the heartbeat that promised connection even in the darkest shadows. I surged back toward the fray, heart pounding in my ears, when something caught my eye. An unexpected light flickered through the chaos, flaring like a beacon against the encroaching darkness. My breath hitched as I watched the approaching figures stumble over one another, momentarily blinded by a flash of illumination. Here! Emily's voice guided me, and instinctively I reached for her as she twisted toward an old stone bridge just beyond the trees. Relief flooded through me. Another escape route, perhaps a fleeting sanctuary in a night filled with peril. We sprinted toward the bridge with Callum close behind, the sounds of pursuit dimming as we navigated the stone archway. The air shifted, the echo of our footsteps mixing with the whispers of the water below, and with each step, I felt lighter as darkness gave way to promise. Yet just as we began to catch our breath, a menacing silhouette emerged from the other side, blocking our exit. It was one of the figures from before, and I could feel the instinctive urge to retreat rising within me. But Callum stepped in front, protective and resolute. Leave us alone, he spat through clenched teeth, shielding me and Emily from the looming threat in a way that ignited a ferocity within my heart. It was a risk, his bravery, and it illuminated an unseen path. He wasn't just fighting for himself. He was fighting for us. Before anything further could unfold, the figure laughed a deep, rumbling sound that sent shivers skimming over my skin. You think you can escape? We're just getting started. You should have known it's never that easy. Time stopped as dread unfurled deep within me. What did he mean by that? An unspoken promise loomed heavy, gnawing away at the fragile strands of hope that had started to weave themselves between Callum and me. But just then, from the corner of my eye, I noticed Emilia flash of movement as she scooped up a small stone from the ground and hurled it at the figure, catching him off guard just long enough for us to scurry past him. Go, 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 she cried, the urgency of her voice resonating within me. Yet as we dashed onto the bridge toward the light of safety, I felt the weight of uncertainty lingering in the air. Ahead loomed a vast, uncharted world of choices, and behind us, the chaos swirled, unfurling dark intentions. With our hearts pounding like the reverberations of thunder, we crossed the threshold. Moments later, as we neared the tree line that formed our refuge, I glanced back to see the shadows still swaying at the edge, unwilling to let us break free completely. And just when I thought we had escaped, Callum's expression shifted, the spark of fear replacing determination. "They know where we are," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "They won't let us go that easily. We have to move." The weight of dread settled back upon us, pressing heavier than any force I had ever felt. And in that moment, I realized how precarious our situation had become. The threads of my heart bound intricately to a dangerous man. Caught in a web of deceit he was trying to untangle. As we stumbled deeper into the woods under the protection of the trees, I looked to Callum, where the shadows still clung to his features like ghosts of his past. "What do we do now?" I asked, a tremble threading through my voice, uncertain if I was ready to confront the unforeseen future that lay tangled ahead of us. "I don't know," he admitted, and for the first time, a flicker of vulnerability crossed his face. "But I need you to trust me, even when the darkness surrounds us. It's the only way." And as his eyes met mine full of raw truth and desperate hope, I felt the heavy fog of uncertainty crack open just a bit, revealing the tiniest sliver of light through the storm we were facing. With our lives intertwined and the danger lurking but a breath away, I knew we had to forge ahead. But beneath it all, a gnawing anxiety lingered. The shadows of Callum's past stirred, buzzed, and spread, a harbinger of challenges yet unseen, leaving us on the edge of a tumultuous journey that would test our resolve like nothing we had ever faced before. The air shifted as we plunged deeper into the forest, the moonlight filtering through the rustling leaves, casting an ethereal glow on the path ahead. The menacing shadows behind us grew fainter, but the tremors of danger still echoed in my mind. I could feel the weight of Callum's fear mixing with my own, each heartbeat a reminder that we were not yet free. "Over here," Emily beckoned, her voice like a lifeline in the vast stillness. She led us into a thicket of brambles, where the fingernails of branches scratched gently at our arms and legs. I flinched but didn't dare complain. The urgency of our situation drowned out my discomfort. We huddled together in a small gap beneath the tangled canopy, breathing heavily as the adrenaline coursed through us. "Do you think they'll follow us?" I barely managed to whisper, the words feeling too heavy to form. Callum leaned in closer, his forehead breaking into a sheen of sweat that glimmered in the light of the moon. "They're relentless," he said softly, his voice low and strained. The intensity in his eyes sparked something within me, a mixture of terror and admiration. "But they don't know these woods like we do." I watched as Emily nodded, her brow furrowed in contemplation. "We need a plan. We can't just sit here and wait for them to find us. What do you suggest?" I asked, eager to channel the fear coursing through me into something productive. Emily bit her lip, her brows knitting in deep concentration. "There's a clearing to the north. If we can reach it, we might find a way to contact someone for help, or at least hide until morning." A glimmer of hope sparked inside me, but it was dulled by the lurking shadows of doubt. "How do you suggest we get there without them finding us?" By moving silently, Callum interjected. There was a steely resolve in his tone, and I suddenly felt proud to be fighting alongside him, not just for my own safety, but for his too. "Well, keep to the underbrush, stay low, and use the terrain to shield us. Move quickly, but stay quiet. No unnecessary risks." That we set off again, our hearts thrumming in sync with the nocturnal symphony of the woods. Callum took the lead, guiding us through the thicket, his presence both reassuring and intimidating. I fell in a step behind him, my fingers brushing against the rough bark of trees, feeling as though I was tethered to him, a slender thread of connection holding me safe amid the chaos. The deeper we ventured, the more I could feel remnants of adrenaline coursing through every inch of me thrilling and terrifying all at once. My mind flicked back to the figure we had faced on the bridge, to the rumors whispered about Callum's past. It jangled like a broken record in the back of my mind. "Why do they want you?" I managed to ask, though my voice barely rose above a whisper, uncertain if I truly wanted to unearth the truth. Callum paused, turning to face me, the moonlight accentuating the shadows that danced upon his features. "I made choices," he said, the weight of his words hanging heavily between us. "Some choices haunt you. Some threaten everything. They want to settle a debt, make me pay for my past." His gaze glanced away, piercing through the darkness as if surveying a distant horizon. Something inside me twisted painfully at the admission. Here we were, cloaked in shadows of fear, moving away from danger, yet drawn closer by secrets unspoken. The truth of it shook me, for beneath it all, I felt an unsettling connection growing stronger, a longing to understand the man behind the mask of turmoil. But there was no time to dwell on that now. We hastened through the undergrowth, minutes stretching endlessly, each rustle of leaves making my heart leap in my chest. In those rapid beats, I wondered about Emily's story, my own, and what had conspired to bring us to this very moment. Finally, we reached the clearing. As the trees parted like ancient sentinels, a breathtaking sight unfolded before us, a vast expanse of daisy-dotted terrain, glimmering under the watchful gaze of the moon, a radiant slice of serenity amid the tempest. We stepped out cautiously, the tension lessening for a fleeting moment, relief mingling with the undercurrent of fear. I glanced at Emily, who looked equally awestruck, and then back at Callum, whose expression mirrored my contemplation mixed with a desperate hope. But as we began to cross the clearing, the moment of stillness shattered. A piercing howl broke through the night, reverberating like a thunderclap, a chilling reminder that danger was not far behind. My heart sank, fear coiling tightly around my chest as I grasped Callum's arm. "We need to move," he urged, his brows knitting in determination. But as we sprinted forward, I noticed a glint among the trees. A figure emerged, steps swift and purposeful. But there was a difference. He wore the colors of the local constabulary, but it was not familiarity that struck me, a realization sinking into my gut with painful clarity. It was Adam, the very man from my past I never wished to see again. His gaze locked onto mine, dark and intense. "You shouldn't have come back," he warned, stepping into the clearing with a brazen confidence that felt out of place, an omen dampening the fragile hope that had just ignited. Behind him, the shadows stirred in a growing tide of figures emerging in a calculated advance, intent on closing the circle of chaos around us. "Run!" Callum cried, grabbing my hand as Emily shouted at me to follow. The essence of connection we had forged felt like a lifeline, but the gnawing twist of fate loomed perilously close. With Adam's voice trailing behind us, mingled with the echoes of the men from Callum's past, the line between our sanctuary and imminent disaster blurred. And with breathless urgency, I wondered, as the connection between us tightened with each step, would the very threads binding us together unravel or strengthen under the weight of the storm gathering on the horizon. The wind whipped through the clearing, carrying with it the heightened sounds of our desperate footfalls, pressing us onward into the unknown. I felt the warmth of Callum's hand clasped fervently around my own, a tether binding us not only in fear, but in the undying resilience sparking between us. Straight ahead, to the tree line, he called out, his voice strained with urgency. The weight of the oncoming shadows pushed at our backs, practically breathing down our necks. Emily, close on our heels, mouthed words of encouragement, her fear transformed into fierce determination. But even as we rushed forward, adrenaline coursing heavily through my veins, I couldn't shake the chilling image of Adam. His eyes, once filled with warmth and familiarity, now shimmered with a cold detachment I had never anticipated experiencing. Each flashback of our shared past was punctuated by the guttural reality before a hostile reunion I had fought hard to avoid. As we barreled toward the edge of the clearing, the vibrant moon now a witness to our strife. I stumbled. A root caught my foot, sending me tumbling to the ground. Cold earth met my palm, and panic surged through me as I looked back. Callum spun on his heels, his expression in a battle between concern and urgency. "Get up. We can't stop." His grip tightened on my arm, pulling me up as Emily reached us, her breath coming in quick gasps. "I'm here. I'm okay," I said, brushing the dirt off my clothes, my heartbeat thundering in tandem with the growling voices drawing nearer. "Let's go." Together, we pushed through the underbrush, the trees swallowing us whole as the moonlight dwindled behind the thick canopy. Heart racing, I led the way with Callum and Emily following closely. Once sheltered beneath the dense foliage, I managed to catch my breath, the grind of my heart still echoing in my ears. The starlight flickered softly above, a reminder of hope even in these dark shadows. But as I whipped around to face them, my throat tightened with the weight of my questions. Callum, why was Adam even here? What does he want with us? His eyes hardened, shadows cascading across his face. He's not just any man, Lila. He's a part of my past, one I hoped would remain untouched. He knows where I came from, and he wants to leverage that against me. May not want to hurt you, but lives can change, especially when familiar ties pull on the strings. He knows your secrets. Emily whispered, fear reflecting in her voice. And now he knows you're with us. Callum said nothing, his jaw tight, as if forging unoxygenated air into steel. My heart grew heavy at the realization not only was the threat still looming, but I was inadvertently pulled into this chaotic web, threatening the lives of my companions as well as my own. Then Callum reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "We won't let them find us. You're not just caught up in this, we're in this together." His gaze was fierce, as if demanding that I believe him, and part of me yearned to lean into that courage. But the past hovered ominously, threatening to engulf us in its darkness, and I faltered, finding my voice drenched with uncertainty. But how do we escape this? Just then, the sound of snapping twigs rent the air. We glanced at each other, alarmed. "We need to move." Now Callum urged, his protective instinct kicking into high gear. We retreated further into the woods, but the night had enveloped us into its fold, blinding any sense of direction. Shadows danced ominously around us. Anxiety coiled tight in the pit of my stomach as the chill of the night seeped in. There was a muffled rustle behind us, stepping carefully through the undergrowth. "Callum," Emily choked out urgently. But instead of fear flashing in his eyes, something else surfaced: realization. "Stay close," he warned, gripping my hand tightly again, just as we felt the air shift. A figure broke through the brush, tall and cloaked in darkness, yet familiar. My stomach dropped as I recognized the silhouette, one I had never wanted to see again. "Lila," a deep voice echoed through the silence like thunder. "Fiend," it slipped from my lips, horrified disbelief thrumming in my chest as memories flooded back: the laughter, the connection, the bombshell revelations about my roof over your head. I had thought he was lost forever to the tides of my past, the tides that had brought me here amidst chaos. He advanced on us, his expression harsh yet tempered with an unmistakable falter. "You shouldn't be here. Neither should you." I spat back, the betrayal slicing through me as I registered Callum's hand squeezing mine protectively, fusing our fear into solidarity. "We're in danger, Finn," Emily shouted, urgency lacing her words. "This isn't the time for secrets." He hesitated, glancing between the three of us, the power struggle playing out in the silent dynamic of our shared history. But I saw something simmering behind his stoic demeanor, a flicker of regret, a yearning to protect. Yet before I could piece together what could only be a rift wide enough to shatter us all, more shadows emerged. A crack of branches and a distinct growl echoed in the darkness, and dread gripped my heart like ice. Whatever bonds held us were teetering on the edge of chaos. "Run," Callum commanded, dragging me toward the pulsing heart of the woods. But my mind spun, tangled in spirals of betrayal, truths unspoken, and a danger that simmered ever closer. Footsteps followed, relentless and cruel, growing louder with each breath, relentless and hungry. I fought against the swell of despair and forged ahead, struggling to reconcile the past and the uncertain future, desperate to grasp at whatever shred of connection remained amidst the encroaching shadows. And with every step I took into the darkness, I felt the threads of our fates intertwining, unweaving, and knotting in ways unimaginably a whirlwind of disillusionment. Yet beneath it all, glimmering strands of hope hidden deep down, waiting to be discovered as the truth unraveled before us. With our breaths coming in ragged gasps, we pushed deeper into the forest, where the shadows wrapped around us like a dense fog. Callum's grip on my hand was vice-like as he maneuvered us through the underbrush, his body acting as both shield and guide. Each crack of a twig behind us sent ripples of dread through my chest, but I couldn't shake the complex tangle of emotions weaving through my mind, confusion about Finn's sudden reappearance and the deepening sense of danger that loomed just beyond our sight. "Why is Finn here?" I blurted, desperate to break the suffocating silence. "What does he want?" Callum shot me a fleeting glance, his brow furrowed in thought. It was as if he weighed each word on a scale of gravity before finally replying. "He wants to protect you. He always has." The truth in his voice was like a stone, heavy and undeniable. "Protect me? You don't know what he did," I cried, my heart racing as we stumbled through the tangled flora. "He may have made mistakes, Lila, but he's not your enemy now. The danger is real." Andy cut him off, my frustration boiling over. "The danger is real? You think I don't know that? You think I can just trust someone who hurt me?" Callum's face hardened, but there was a flicker of empathy behind his steely resolve. "I know it's hard, but we don't have time to dissect the past right now. We need to survive." His focus shifted back to the dimly lit path ahead, but my mind was still with Finn, the boy who had once promised me the world and left it shattered in the process. How could I reconcile the memory of what we had shared with the betrayal I felt? And now, I was meant to trust him. The knot in my stomach twisted tighter, as if the universe was mocking the tangled fabric of our lives. Suddenly, the rustle in the bushes grew louder. Callum halted, turning to face the direction from which we had come, body coiled like a spring. "Go," he urged, pointing me forward. "I'll hold him off, what?" "No, I won't leave you." Panic filled my voice as I felt the pull of fear again, my heart screaming in protest at the thought of separation. "We can't risk all of us getting caught. Just gotta stay low and find a creek." His eyes locked onto mine, desperate and imploring. "Trust me." Reluctantly, I tore my gaze away and ran, feeling Emily fall in step beside me as we veered into the dense thicket. As we navigated through the twists and turns of the landscape, I could still hear Callum's voice, steady and commanding, fading into the chaos behind us. I felt both empowered and powerless, burdened by guilt for forsaking him as he faced the danger head-on. The moon glimmered dimly through the leaves above, illuminating a soft trail that wound like a stream through the wilderness. It was eerie and peaceful, nature's song mingling with the sound of our racing hearts. A glimmer of hope surfaced inside me, twisting into determination. If Callum was willing to face his demons, then I had to face mine. For him, I would confront the ghosts of my past. As minutes stretched into what felt like hours, we slowed our pace, hearts pounding in tandem. "We have to find a safe spot," Emily whispered, scanning the dark periphery. "They'll be coming after us." I felt my pulse quicken again, the images of the shadows breaching our sanctuary engraving themselves on my mind. But before I could voice my thoughts, a flicker of movement caught my eye. My gaze trained on the silhouette emerging just ahead. Was it Finn? "Stop," I shouted, feeling an instinctual need to protect Emily. I gripped her arm tightly, uncertain but resolute. The figure stepped closer, and I saw familiar features illuminated by the faintest shimmer of starlight. "Lila, it's me," Finn said, his tone threaded with urgency. "We need to get you both out of here." They followed. Panic swept through me like wildfire. "No, we're not going anywhere with you," I retorted, but Finn stepped closer, desperation etched on his face. Don't you understand? They're coming for you. I can help, he implored, the conviction in his tone tearing at my resolve. Adam isn't just a shadow. He has others more of them. We can't outrun them forever. I glanced at Emily, whose eyes mirrored my uncertainty. Finn's presence felt like a double-edged sword, a connection to a past I had tried so hard to escape. Could he really be here to help? Suddenly, as if fate had decided our moment of indecision wasn't ours to determine, the branches snapped behind us. My breath caught in my throat as the figure of Adam emerged from the dark, flanked by two others, their postures lone, sentinel-bearers of doom. Here you are. Adam's voice sliced through the air, low and menacing, threatening to unravel everything I'd fought to protect. I thought you'd run a little further. Lila, Finn shouted, urgency igniting his voice. We need to move now. Without thinking, I reached for Emily's hand, and together we turned, ready to dash into the forest once more. But a low growl echoed from Adam's companions, and instinctively I froze, torn between fight or flight, between the past and the present that didn't seem to promise safety. And then the ground shifted beneath me. I stumbled, feeling the earth give way. Dizzying fear rendering me motionless as realization struck there was a trap laid in the darkness. And in that moment, our fight for survival was about to be burdened with the weight of a truth that could shatter everything. Time seemed to warp as I fell, the tendrils of panic gripping me tight. And as I plunged deeper into the unknown, I realized that this battle wasn't only against our pursuers. It was to retrieve the pieces of ourselves that had been lost along the way, and as I slipped into the darkness, I knew I might not be the only one falling from grace. The darkness enveloped me like a shroud, a heavy silence punctuated only by the muted thud of my heartbeat against my ribs. The ground fell away beneath my feet, pulling me downward in a spiral of fear and confusion. I was falling into an abyss, but it wasn't the physical drop that consumed me. It was the realization that the gravity of my choices had caught up with me in ways I had never anticipated. Just as I braced for the impact of the fall, a sudden lurch halted my descent. I landed with a thud in a tangle of roots and underbrush, shock rippling through my body. Dazed, I pushed myself onto my elbows, blinking rapidly to clear the haze before me. I could hear distant voices muffled, but close enough that dread pooled in my stomach as I strained to listen. Where did she go? Adam's voice slithered through the dark, filled with a twisted sense of triumph. It twisted something deep inside me, but I also felt a fleeting whisper of hope. I wasn't trapped. I had escaped their immediate grasp, down the hole. One of the others barked, and chaos erupted as their feet raced toward the edge of the pit I had fallen into. The ground felt unstable, ready to give way again, and I shuffled back against the wall, heart hammering in sync with the sounds of pursuit. But it wasn't just fear that kept me pressed against the earth. It was the weight of choices, betrayals, and overlaid fears that constricted my throat. Emotion bubbled up in my chest, hot and clawing for release. Why was Finn here? Why now? When everything felt irrevocably broken, as the shouts of my pursuers faded into the distance, I glanced around. The hole, though daunting, with surprisingly large, thick roots crisscrossed the walls like nature's labyrinth, and moss softened the path beneath my palms. This unexpected sanctuary whispered a promise that perhaps here, amidst the confusion, I could find a way through. That I pressed my back against the cool earth, drawing in a deep breath, willing the panic to subside. My mind buzzed with unanswered questions when I felt an unexpected presence beside me. A figure emerged from the shadows, quietly slipping down beside me. Finn, I gasped, relief washing over me in a wave. Yet, it was quickly tempered by the familiar surge of unease. What do you want from me? Why now? I came to protect you, he answered, his voice low but stable, cutting through the darkness. I know I haven't exactly been a beacon of trust in your life, but this is about so much more than just us. Adam isn't the only threat. There's a group involved in a network. If he gets to you, there's no telling what could happen. I can't just follow you blindly, I protested, the words spilling out with a mix of anger and desperation. You hurt me, Finn. You broke me. And now you expect me to believe that you're here to save me. A flicker of something crossed his features. Regret? Longing? Lila, I've spent every day trying to make sense of what happened between us. I've been torn between choosing my family and keeping you safe. I chose wrong, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I shook my head, sorrow clawing at my heart. It doesn't matter anymore. None of that changes what came before, but Finn reached for my hand, his grip gentle yet unyielding. It may not erase the past, but we can't let it dictate our future. Together, we might just stand a chance. Despite everything, I felt a flicker of warmth at his touch. It was both terrifying and comforting, wrestling with memories of happier times and the promise of protection that now lingered in his voice. They'll come for us, Finn. They won't give up, I cautioned, fear creeping back in. I know. His gaze locked with mine, earnest determination shining through the shadowy vault. But we can outsmart them. We've got the element of surprise now. The weight of the shadows pressed in around us, recalling the perilous moment I had spiraled downward. But as the heaviness of despair clawed at my heart, a small ember of hope flickered to life. Perhaps, just perhaps, in this darkness, we could find a way out together. Suddenly, the distant clamor of footsteps broke through the quiet once more, sharper and more hurried now, a harbinger of our imminent doom. Panic surged within me as I tightened my grip on Finn's hand. We need to move. They'll be here any moment. With a nod, we stood, the familiar sound of fear pulsing in our veins. But a part of me still held back. Could I truly trust him? With the promise of danger looming just above us, would we truly escape, or was this yet another trap laid by the whims of fate? Just as I turned to glimpse the path behind us, the ground trembled. A low rumble echoed through the space as the wall shifted, a cascade of roots collapsing in on themselves, blocking our exit. Finn! I screamed, dread pouring through me as the world around twisted like a thread, unraveling. Hold on, Lila. We'll find another way, he shouted back, urgency flooding his voice. But as the ceiling trembled further, a chilling realization settled over me. We weren't just racing against the shadows following us. We were trapped not just by the earth, but by our intertwined fates, and I could feel in the marrow of my bones that this moment could change everything and tear us apart forever. The air was thick with tension as the last roots crumbled away, plunging us deeper into the darkness. Finn's grip remained firm around my hand, and though panic clawed at my throat, I marveled at the stark contrast of his presence, so familiar, yet frighteningly foreign. Was it really his loyalty that held me so tightly, or the despair of our circumstances that kept us entwined in this lurking web of chaos? There has to be another way out. I gasped, my heart hammering against my ribs. I could feel every fearful tremor reverberate through me, a reminder that we were on the precipice of something unforgiving. Stay close to me, Finn said, his voice steadier than mine, a soothing balm to my spiraling thoughts. Let's feel our way through this. We pressed forward, arms outstretched, until fingers met damp earth and coils of cool roots. The shadows danced around us, and all that broke the silence was our hurried breaths, a desperate rhythm underscored by uncertainty. In that moment, I realized how much I loathed this darkness, not just for its suffocating grip, but for the loneliness it threatened to ensnare me in. Adam's taunting laughter echoed in my mind, reminding me of the betrayal that had sent me spiraling. I shook my head, struggling to cast a shadow away, to carve room within my heart again. Finn's presence propelled me forward, like a compass battling against the winds of despair. Suddenly, we stopped. I felt an unyielding pulse in the earth beneath my feet, a vibration that felt alive, filling the stillness with a message, a warning. What is that? I whispered, gripping Finn's arm in apprehension. I don't know, he replied, his brows furrowing with concern. But we need to keep moving. Just as he spoke, the tremors intensified, and I could sense the world around us shifting. It wasn't just the earth that felt alive. It was as if the very roots we clung to were reacting to some unseen force. The air grew heavy with electricity, a static sharpness that pricked at my skin that a flicker of light pierced through the murky shadow, teasing at the edges of my vision. Hope ignited. Fiend, there! I pointed, and we stumbled forward toward the glimmer, heartbeats synchronizing in the shared urgency. As we approached, the light expanded, drawing us into an open glade illuminated by the faint glow of bioluminescent plants spiraling around a small underground pond. The beauty of it struck me, an oasis amidst our turmoil. Yet anxiety still murmured beneath the surface. Would we linger here for too long, losing ourselves amidst its allure? Would we fall victim to a false sense of safety? I never knew this place existed. Finn looked around, all blending with apprehension in his eyes. It feels ancient, magical or dangerous, I replied, a shudder creeping into my voice. What if this is a trap? It's a risk, he answered, his gaze fixed on the shimmering water, refusing to look away. But right now, it's the first light we've seen in this darkness. Before I could reply, the ground shifted again, but this time it felt different, an invitation rather than a threat. I took a step forward, entranced by the flickering glow. What if this was a chance to reclaim our story amidst the mess we'd made together? As we stepped into the light, the air turned electric, and suddenly, another presence stirred beside us. A figure emerged from the shadows, a woman with burning eyes and an unsettling grin that sent chills racing down my spine. Her face bore an unmistakable familiarity. Mara? I breathed, recognition flooding my senses and raising every warning bell in my mind. The betrayals of the past flared through me, each moment we'd shared crashing into the present like waves against the shore. I've been waiting for you both, she said, her voice lilting with an almost mocking sweetness. The firelight glinted off her knife, a sickly contrast to the iridescent glow surrounding us. You think you can escape your fates? You're in deeper than you realize. Finn stepped in front of me defensively. What do you want with us? Mara smiled, and it clawed at my instincts. Oh, Lila, Finn, you've stumbled into more than you know. The marriage that binds you doesn't just tie two hearts. It changed the very destiny of our struggle. You think this is all about escape, but do you even understand the stakes? In that moment, I understood I was standing on the edge of everything I'd feared and wanted. What are you talking about? My voice wavered, caught between the familiar and the unfathomable. Your hearts hold the key to change. But first, you must decide whether to embrace this darkness or fight against it. Are you ready to embrace your fates? Mara leaned closer, eyes glimmering with a challenge that ignited something restless within me. Finn's hand tightened around mine, a lifeline against the tide of uncertainty that threatened to drown us. We won't let you manipulate us, he said resolutely. But as his words hung in the air, I felt a pulsing warmth emanating from the very roots that entwined around you. In that breathless moment, I sensed how our lives were interwoven, a tapestry of love, pain, and a destiny we had yet to unravel. The choice lay before us like the shimmering waters of the pond, beautiful yet treacherous. Just as Mara stepped back, the ground heaved again, and a deep rumble shook the very roots that had felt like safety moments before. Panic ignited anew, and the vibrant light began to flicker. Lila, we have to move, Finn shouted as the light dimmed, the shadows creeping closer, suffocating joy as they threatened to consume our hopes. In that moment, a chilling revelation seized me tightly. We weren't just facing Adam anymore. Our fates, intertwined with Mara's revelation, now loomed above us like a storm. Our pasts, the arduous paths carved in blood, had resurrected the shadows of discovery. And as the darkness closed in around us, I knew the fight to reclaim our lives had only just begun. The world around us crumbled into chaos as panic surged through my veins. The flickering light from the bioluminescent plants dimmed, shadows twisting and writhing as if they were alive, hungry for the remnants of hope we clung to. Finn's grip tightened around my hand, a tether amidst the storm brewing outside the safety of our sanctuary. I could feel him steeling himself for what lay ahead, and as the roots shifted beneath us, uncertainty clawed at my heart. "Lila," he shouted, his voice echoing like a lighthouse in a tempest. "We need to find a way out." Now, before I could respond, the shadows crept closer, the very air thickening with dread as the glimmer of light faded further. My heart raced. The memories of betrayal flooding back trapped between my past and present, torn between two worlds that seemed irreconcilable. Would I ever escape the grip of darkness that bound me? Or would I continue to be caught in this spiral of betrayal and fear? Together, I whispered to Finn, mirroring the strength I hoped to find within myself. We faced this together, his searched gaze locked onto mine. Something passed between us in that moment, an unspoken promise stitched together by our shared histories and fears. Moving cautiously toward the edge of the clearing, we could feel the frigid tendrils of darkness reaching for us, but within it lay a fire of resolve ignited by our intertwined destinies. As if sensing our determination, the shadows paused, allowing us a sliver of respite. Then suddenly, Mara lunged forward, her movement swift like a striking serpent, but Finn stepped up protectively. "You won't get to her," he declared, voice steady despite the underlying tremor of fear. "Mara," I interrupted, injecting firmness into my voice that surprised me. "What do you want from us? Why continuously drag us into this chaos?" My heart raced, propelled by desperation. She smiled, a grin that sent chills down my spine, and for a fleeting moment, the ice surrounding her demeanor cracked. "It's not what I want, Lila. It's about what you both need to realize. The marriage you're about to enter is not just a union of love or belonging, it's a beacon, a turning point in both your fates. Can you feel it? The rush of emotions tied to blood and loss?" She gestured dramatically at the roots curling around us, now pulsating with a vibrant energy. "What are you saying? We don't need to be reminded of our pain," I shot back, clenching Finn's hand tighter as if he were a life buoy amidst the storm. "It's about embracing your past to confront your future. To survive, you must intertwine your fates together. You cannot escape it." Her words wrapped around me like chains, but something ignited within. A sense of understanding blossomed despite the turmoil swirling around. Together, yes, I breathed, glancing at Finn, whose expression mirrored my inner thought, uncertainty and determination at odds. "But we decide what kind of future we want, not you." In that heartbeat, realization dawned. I had spent far too long grappling with my past and facing shadows alone. Together, we had the power to reshape our destinies. This bond, though born from chaos, bore the strength of something more profound, a shared resilience ignited through struggles that now defined us. Just as the shadows seemed set to engulf us, I felt the roots beneath us pulse, responding to the surge of unity growing. "We will not succumb," Finn yelled, his voice breaking through the chaos like a shield, standing fearless against Mara's looming presence. "You do not understand the power you possess," Mara hissed, her eyes flashing. "Fight me if you wish, but know that shadows do not easily yield." With a defiant shout, we took a step forward in unison, hearts beating as one. The very air thickened with clarity, our shared strength blazing like a beacon slicing through the mist of fear. Suddenly, a low rumble sounded beneath us, the echoes of an impending reckoning shifting as the shadows thickened and retracted as though unsettled. "Stand firm," I shouted, releasing Finn's hand briefly to lift my arms as though summoning a tempest, channeling every ounce of pain, fear, and heartache into a wave of resolve. "We can face whatever lies ahead." Finn had shifted beside me, determination blazing in his eyes, and together we forged a connection between the very essence of us, woven from the pieces of our hearts that had tumbled away throughout the darkness. The shadows writhed as if sentient, challenging us, but in our unified stance, I felt the roots beneath us solidify, the light emboldening with vibrant strength. "Feel the bond," Finn whispered, his voice threaded with a quiet strength, his resolve fusing with mine. The roots around us thrummed like a heartbeat, pulsing with warmth that enveloped us, cloaking the chaos in light. Call it fate or choice. Either way, we were intertwining, becoming stronger with every shared heartbeat, every whisper of hope. The world around us began to shift, branches beckoning upward, as if welcoming use and escape rather than a trap. Your bond will be your guide, Mara sneered, eyes narrowing. But shadows are relentless. You cannot escape me that easily. Watch us, I countered, feeling the energy of resolve ripple through the air like waves on the shore. We needed to take back the very essence of our lives, not just survive, but thrive. With a flourish, Finn and I stepped forward, hearts synchronized and minds clear, and together we embraced the pulsating energy, the raw power of our connection, guiding us deeper into the unknown. As the shadows began to recede, our bond shimmered fiercely, weaving golden threads through the darkness. With every step, we broke free not only from our past, but also from the very feet that had chased us. Together, we could shine light into the crevices that had once nearly claimed us, healers of our own broken hearts. And as the darkness shimmered in retreat, a single bright star emerged from the void, illuminating our path forward, a promise of love and acceptance wrapped tightly around our fates intertwined. In that infinite moment, I turned to Finn, and for the first time, I felt the weight of fear lift. We had chosen one another through the chaos, and that was enough. Together, always, I whispered. Always, he echoed, that simple word laden with the weight of everything said, an unsighted promise that enveloped us both in light. And with that, we stepped forward into the vast expanse of possibility, daring to weave our story anew, where darkness had once reigned, embracing whatever might come next with hearts ablaze, together. As we emerged into the silver glow of dawn, I realized that our true victory wasn't just escaping the shadows. It was finding ourselves amidst the endless connections that bind our hearts together, so eternally defying every expectation, every label, and every boundary drawn. And in this light, my life felt impossibly fuller. A radiant sunset painting the horizon of our new beginning with colors of love, hope, and dreams yet to be fulfilled. For the past may linger like smoke in the distance, but in the vast tapestry we were weaving, the resolve blossomed to love fiercely, to grow unyieldingly, and to embrace every moment ahead as our own. Together,